Hello, guys. Welcome back to ESENtaxa. We are in live, 1st November 2023. Today, we are going to discuss about the new, let's say, news about on the process of updating the Italian Budget Law 2024. Three important topics we are going to discuss today. It's about the Impatriati Regime, what's going on. There are some changing, are still deciding something at the Italian Parliament. They might amend something, or they might keep the new rules. We might have that transitionary period, maybe for the Impatriati Regime. And then we are going to talk about the new taxation for the AirB&B or the bed and breakfast tax if you want to rent your property in Italy for only 30 days. And we have also some changes about your foreign asset detained abroad as Italian tax resident. So these are the three main topics that we are going to discuss today. Today it's 1st November, it's holiday in Italy and also in most countries in Europe, but we are working here in ESENtaxa because we have a plenty of things that we have to do. The end of the year laws are going to change. We need to be updated, and we are going to release for you guys new information. So about the first topic, I'm going to go through the three topics that I've just mentioned, and then I'm going to reply you some questions. So if you have some questions, please don't hesitate to write down in the chat, and I will read them later at the end of this live. This will be 10, 15 minutes live, and we try to keep this live every Wednesday. Okay. So first, let's go back to Impatriati Regime 2024. We have already know about, you understood the new rules. We have made already a couple of videos about it. The government implement the new rules. So no more difference between North and South. We have 5 years of commitment to stay in Italy and 3 years prior relocation. We have other requirement restriction that has to be respected, especially on the sphere of being high qualified person. You have to belongs to a certain list of persons to apply for the Impatriati Regime 2024. But the most important point here is that people are complaining about, for those who move to Italy at the end of the year, can they still apply the old Impatriati Regime with the old, more favorable rules, or they go straight to the new rules? Because the Impatriati Regime works when you tax resident. And of course, if you move in 2023 in Italy at the end of 2023 of this year, in September, for example, August, October, because you thought that you could exploit the Impatriati Regime in a good manner, unfortunately, you got caught by this change. And then because of this, a lot of people complained, and the government is thinking to adjust a little bit the law and add or create a transitionary period in which means that most likely it's enough to be registered in Italy as resident. So to go to your Italian municipality of your choice, register yourself in the town hall of the city, and then before the 31st of December, you have the chance to apply the old Impatriati Regime scheme and not the new one. So this is the first rumors, still not yet defined, but let's see what happens next month. Second point, this might be quite interesting in case you would like to open a bed and breakfast, or you just want to invest in Italy and rent for a short period of time. So short let contract of less than 30 days. Because of the increasing of prices in the big cities, especially in the touristic cities such as Florence, Rome, Milan, Naples, these kind of big cities, there is less and less possibility to people to rent the property. And also there is a high concurrency against the hotels. So if you rent an apartment next to an hotel, the hotel, of course, has more expenses, more bureaucratic things to be respected, and for them, it's not fair that you basically run the touristic business with your apartment. So it's unfair concurrencies between private owners with apartment, putting the apartment under Airbnb, the hotels, they are running a real business for tourists, and the lack of apartment free for students, worker that needs to go to these cities. It's a similar problem that we had in Lisbon as well because of the high net worth individual, the NHR program. So because of this, the Italian government decides to rise up the flat tax for tourists, okay? Which means now, if you are a private owner, so you're not running your short-let contracts as a business, but as an individual, you are able to apply a 21% flat tax, which is known in Italian cedolare secca, 21% flat. for short-let contract, especially addressed to tourists. Now, the government says, if you want to do it with a second apartment, so if you put under touristic rent more than one apartment, from the second apartment onwards, you're going to pay 26% instead of 21. Okay? So the first apartment will be 21 with your contracts there. And from the second onwards, instead of being 21, it will be 26. This is because they want to push back a little bit this business to stop a little bit Airbnb. I think it's not going to change too much because the majority of the owner only owns one apartment with multiple rooms. So it's not going to change a lot. But we understand exactly the direction of the government. So if you really want to move to Italy and run this kind of business, maybe it makes more sense open a forfait regime, which basically you have less taxes to pay because you have the forfeit expenses. So you see, there is something that here we can evaluate. In case you have only one apartment, maybe the flat tax is fine. But as soon as you start having more than one apartment, it makes sense to open straight a business. Moreover, if you have more than 4 apartments, you cannot act anymore as an individual. This will be go extremely straight to the business. So I will recap quickly. For apartment, you cannot act as a private, you have to open a business. So Forfait regime, Impatriati regime, ordinary regime, OSRL as well. If you have more than one apartment, so you have 2 apartments, you can act as a private owner, fine. But from the second property onwards, you will get a 26% flat tax instead of 21. And the first property keeps 21, okay? So those are the changes for Airbnb. The Airbnb is a little bit complex subject. There are a lot of different scenarios. We have made a video in the B&B, well structured, you can watch it, but also you can have a consultancy with us in which we can explain exactly how you can really work in Italy under this kind of business. There are also regional rules, municipality rules that needs to be respected. So it's subject to a deep consultant to run this business properly. And this is for the bed and breakfast activity in Italy. The third point is rising the taxes on foreign asset detained abroad. So in Italy, there are 2 types of taxes, which are mainly type of wealth taxes for assets detained abroad. One is called IVAFE, which is basically a taxation of financial product detained abroad. So if you become Italian tax resident and you have, for example, investments abroad, cryptocurrencies or ETF, these kind of products, have to pay every year at 0.02% tax on the value of what you detain abroad. It's not tax on income. It's just because you detain those assets, just because you have them, you have to pay taxes on it. It's a wealth tax. Now, if you detain, with this new regulation, Budget Law 2024, if you detain the same product in a low tax jurisdiction country, which basically low tax jurisdiction means that the taxation is so low that Italy considers this jurisdiction almost a tax haven, then instead of paying 0.02%, it's going to be 0.4%. 0.04%. It's still very, very low, but it's still something that needs to be paid on a yearly basis. And the other tax that would be raised is the IVIE, which is the tax on property detained abroad. So if I'm Italian tax resident and I have a property abroad in another country, maybe that country asks me to pay the annual property tax, but also Italy asks me to do the same with this IVIE tax, which is basically used to be 0.76%, and now they rise up to 1.06%. Not so much, but it's still something more that needs to be paid. Of course, this annual property tax for properties detained abroad will be subtracted to an eventual annual property tax that exists in the country of origin, where the property is located. Okay, so these are the 3 elements that we have so far in the new budget for 2024. Everything else remained unchanged for what concerned our move to Italy. So again, Impatriati regime, possible transition period, Airbnb rise of 26% tax in case you have multiple properties from the second property onwards, and this taxation, or this wealth tax for property detained abroad once I become an Italian tax resident. Okay, so I basically said everything for now, and let's start with questions. Okay, let me check the first questions. LG is asking, I'm eligible for Impatriati status if I work part-time of a new Italian employer and freelancer for my previous employer from a different country. Okay, basically this is not possible anymore because the new rule of the Impatriati regime forbids you to work for the same employer. Okay, if you had relation with your previous employer, you should stop it and work for another employer. Okay, there is no differences between full-time and part-time, so this is not a big problem. Anton Marklund is asking, please update on your channel as soon as possible if the Impatriati regime rumors turn true. I would like to buy services as soon as possible, November, December, to get everything set up. I'm in a limbo. Yes, you're not the only one. A lot of people are waiting clarifications. By the way, I'm going to write you in the chat the ESENtaxa.com/accounting webpage in which we have our packages, our services for the accounting services in Italy, in case you want to have a look. We provide you the Impatriati regime accountability, Forfait Regime, SRL, and also worldwide tax file return, Italian tax file return. About the rumors, yes, we are going to update you as soon as possible, either with videos, but mostly with a live. So stay tuned every Wednesday here in ESENtaxa, because we're going to release a live and we're going to update you, especially in this period of the year in which we are going to have changed on the Italian budget law 2024. The possible transition period, if it works in the way we have understood it, but those are rumors, we are not sure 100% that works like this, is simply you need to register in Italy as a resident and you will still have the benefit of applying the previous Impatriati regime solution, Impatriati regime rules. Next question, does the foreign property tax include securities, stocks, mutual fund? Yes, it does. LG asking us, does eligibility for Impatriati regime status remain if you relocate to Italy initially, work for an Italian firm, and subsequently change job as a freelancer for your previous employer? So let me reread your scenario. If you relocate to Italy, okay, work for an Italian firm, which means you start working for an Italian firm, and then you change job. Okay, if you move to Italy because you were hired by an Italian company as an employee, you were invited, you got a letter of intent, etc., so you respect all the requirements, yes, you can apply for the Impatriati regime. After, you can also change job, you can change with another employer, or you can be a freelancer. This is not a problem, you can do it. The problem is that if you change job and you keep working with the same employer, you might risk to be requalified as fake employee. So you turn into a freelancer just because you want to pay less taxes, or because your employer wants to pay less social security. So this is the risk that you're going to face. It's not that you fail the Impatriati regime. Huh? Last question. Do you think update will come in November, or could it be delayed in December? Well, this is dependent of the government. Normally, these governments act a little bit earlier than the others in the previous years by history, as I remember correctly. Most likely, we will have a final solution, a final decision at the end of November. Of course, they have, on paper, they have up to the 31st of December to get a decision. A couple of years, 3 years ago, if I'm not wrong, that government took the decision, the final one, the 31st of December. So not giving the possibility to anyone to adopt. Of course, we are talking about 2 governments ago, if I'm not wrong. Things at that moment were different. But it seems now that this government took the chance to work on the draft law, budget law in advance, so quite sometimes in advance. So we are expecting to have our final law approved by the end of November. Okay. Last comment. Thank you, Good. Thank you very much for you guys for having watching this video, to following our lives. Again, if you need accounting for 2024 with the new rules, because you're planning to move to Italy, look at our webpage. www.esentaxa.com/accounting. So you have a look. If you go there and if you want to enroll with us, with our accounting service, with our accounting partners in Italy, you have 50 minutes free call in which we can discuss the way you can enroll with us, or you can simply write us an email if this for you is more comfortable. Okay? I think that's it for today. We have 15 minutes done. So stay tuned on ESENtaxa, subscribe the channel, notification bell, spread the word if you have friends that want to move to Italy, and don't miss the next live for the next Wednesday. Thank you very much. See you and have a nice evening.